Hey friends and family, hey fools, hey loved ones, hey magicians and creators and gardeners, the gardeners of our lives, the artists of our lives, the loves of our lives, our own beloveds. Hi, how you doing today? It's the first, we've just had our first week of June. It's been a little over a week since I shared my last video, and I'm just trying something different. I really have no idea what wants to come through today. I have been, just taking it easy and taking a break. I feel like I'm in this restoration phase, or this restoration stage. Of my awakening, my processing, my journey. So rebuilding, and from the ground up. So it has been, a collapse, a collapse of everything I've ever known. Really, just in letting go the last little while. Letting go of control, letting go of that false sense of control, letting go of the little ego's sense of control, and how to manage, all the perceptions of how I want things to be, or how I prefer things to be, or what I want things to be. Like letting go of that. Acknowledging the desire that I have to feel at peace, to feel at ease, to feel worthy. All those things. Acknowledging that desire. But letting go of the attachment of it, and knowing that it's already is here and already exists, and it's just like getting out of my own way to be it, to be with it, to be here, to allow all of it. And so let's see what wants to be said today. What have I been working with, playing with? So just playing and having an adventure, living the adventure of life, living through the adventure of my own life, and honoring and celebrating and acknowledging and thanking and blessing and praising, acknowledging, appreciating all the gifts that life always is giving and sharing and receiving and regenerating and offering always, through always. And that's kind of funny in certain ways. Before I got on here, I was just led to pick up this book a couple days ago, and I finally picked it up. It's called Become What You Are, and it's by Alan Watts. And I've always liked him. I always liked listening to him. I think I started actively listening to him in 2011 just because I liked his voice and the things he had to say and share about different Eastern philosophies and things. And I feel like one of the first cartoons I think was that I had seen that kind of caught my eye in 2012, though. The animation was by Trey Parker and Matt Stone, who do South Park, and they had put it to some Alan Watts recordings, and it was about the dance of life, and singing the song of life and all of that. And it was just so clever the way that they did it. They kind of showed how we're conditioned in certain ways throughout our schooling and throughout our social indoctrination and pop culture and things, and what are you supposed to do? Here's a list of steps in linear progression or the ladder of success. First you gotta do good in school, and then you gotta go get into a good college, and then you gotta get a good career, and then all those things, the carrot on the stick that's it's perpetual here kitty kind of traps and things, which kind of reminds me of some of the substitutions and the surrogates that we seek or that we choose in replacement of like a soulful life or a homemade life, or that who we really are, and what our soul's asking us to see or respond to or tend to. Sometimes there's those ready-made like substitutions, or something that we may believe or be led to believe that it's the easy way, or it's the work-free transformation, or or maybe the price that we do pay isn't really seen in full ways, the full price that we will pay for making poor choices or choosing certain poisons. Yeah, it's interesting. But it's all like really a gift and a blessing and a lesson, and for our benefit, so that we can develop our discernment and we can learn to trust ourselves and love ourselves and know ourselves and free ourselves. And so, I just want to like share a couple of things with you about what I've been working with the last week, and some of the messages I've received, and just some threads I'm following. So it's been super interesting, looking at concentration and meditation and stillness and listening and silence. And it has been like a super intense time, like with the current astrological energies, the dance of planets, and what we're transitioning into. It's been, kind of a wild ride in certain ways. I don't know how it's affecting each person, each one individually, but I know like how it's affecting me, and how it's affecting me relates to how it's affecting the collective, we. So, I know that I don't know, and that's like what I'm embracing, the unknown, and I'm embracing the fool, and it's just like really interesting to be in the moment and let go of certain anchors or certain frames of reference or certain rigid ideas or identities or patterns, so that I feel secure in certain ways. Just kind of letting some of that stuff go and realizing it's okay not to know, and that, I've been reviewing some videos of mine actually the last month or so, and going back to a couple months ago and listening to some of the things that I was expressing and sharing. And I was like, wow, super like helpful for me to receive like right now. And confirm like just certain choices for me that I'm making, and helping to encourage myself to remember what's really true for me, and remembering that all really is a story. Stories, and like what's really important, what I can really focus on, what really serves, what sustains, what contributes to my endurance and to helping me let go. And seeing certain ways that I still get in my own way, and I sabotage myself because it's just a learned way of operating. And then I can just become more aware of when those things, like when I might be more vulnerable to slipping unconsciously back into those default settings or survival strategies, and then choosing something else. So it has been like a lot of active mind stuff, like thought racing or mind racing, and all of these thoughts like jumbled together, kind of like in a sense, I guess it's like confusion or like a grasping for something. to feel secure because things are changing so fast. But yeah, I forgot where I was going with that, so that's okay. I'm just gonna wing it today. I don't know. So just trust that it's all in divine order and divine timing, and that I have everything that I need right now. Yeah. And don't need to cling to anything. Like, really. So yeah, the active mind, the mind racing and stuff, and wants the Ouroboros chasing its tail and its own light and its own thought forms, That's kind of funny. So, been looking at, choosing to do some meditation. I do practice like mindful activities and focusing my attention and all of that, and singing and chanting and gazing and creating art and just playing, But for some reason, I've been in resistance to like sitting down and meditating, because it's like, oh, what do I choose? Like, how am I going to do this? Because it's just like tripping myself up and telling myself things about it before I even start. It's so like, it's kind of funny, like the procrastination of it, like thinking that there's a right way to do it, or I don't know, like that there's going to be a reward for the right way of doing it, and so like then it becomes goal oriented, right? And that takes me away from what is right here. In certain ways, it's good to have goals, and I actually did like write down some new moon intentions and personal goals the other day too. So what's funny is just like following all these threads and looking at different things, and obviously seeing some things about where I would get in my own way, because it was like, okay, this part of like this strategy isn't working for me, so like how can I change it instead of like just allowing it to fall away, but it's okay to think about like, okay, like what are the ways in which maybe like I could allow this to change, or that I could choose something different and it'll affect it in this positive way or whatever. But kind of knowing that I can just choose something else, and I can still allow that old pattern to exist and just become aware when the momentum is going in that direction, and then I can redirect my attention. And it's like, I don't have to force anything. I just get to be aware and be conscious where my energy is going or where my attention is focused. And so, just kind of one of my intentions and personal goals, was to spend 10 minutes in the morning, just like 10 minutes, like taking 10 minutes of silence and focusing on my breath, and not like having expectations about like, I'm gonna have like these amazing conversations with my guides and stuff like during this time. I was just kind of like letting all that go, and just like, how about just sit in silence and enjoy that silence, and just do my best to concentrate and practice, So it was kind of funny. I picked up this Become What You Are book, and I just want to read like a couple pages that I just received. So I thought it was like really great. I love Ellen Watts. So thank you, Ellen Watts, for your gifts and everything that you were here to teach and share and express and be for me and we, and for your whole self and totality. It's kind of fun, like to have that appreciation for all of these different expressions, these divine expressions of the whole. So this is from page 26. Okay, so there is no way, no method, no technique which you or I can use to come into accord with the Tao, the way of nature, because every how, every method implies a goal. and we cannot make the Tao a goal any more than we can aim an arrow at itself. If we once get into the tangled state of the arrow which is trying to shoot itself, the self trying to change itself, we can't do anything to stop it. So long as we think or feel that perhaps we can stop it, that there is some way, violent or subtle, difficult or easy, to make ourselves unselfish, the contradiction will continue to or get worse. So, let's read that again. So long as we think or feel that perhaps we can stop it, that there is some way, violent or subtle, difficult or easy, to make ourselves unselfish, the contradiction will continue or get worse. We have to see that there is no way, but in the state where we have realized that there is no way to be found, no result to be gained, the vicious circle breaks. Ouroboros, the snake eating his tail, has become conscious all the way around and knows at last that that tail is the other end of his head. We find ourselves in these circles because of ignorance, because of unconsciousness of the nature of our minds, of our thought processes, of ourselves. And the antidote to ignorance is not action but knowledge, not what to do, but what we know. Yet here again, the necessary knowledge does not seem, on the surface, to be anything very promising or hopeful, for the only knowledge in this sphere can be talked about is negative knowledge, knowledge of the trap, of our helpless imprisonment in useless seeking. Positive knowledge, the Tao, of God, of the eternal reality, is a matter of immediate, momentary experience. It can never be put into words, and any attempt to do so converts it into just another aspect of the trap. I realize that we do not like to be told that we are in a trap and that there is nothing we can do to get out of it. Still less do we like to realize it as a vivid experience. But there is no other way of release. A proverb says that man's extremity is God's opportunity. We cannot find release until we have known the real extremity of our situation and see that all striving for spiritual ideals is completely futile, since the very seeking thrusts them away. Yet why should it surprise us? Hasn't it been said again and again that we must die to come to life, that heaven is always on the other side of the valley of the shadow of death, the valley of which physical death is merely a symbol, where the helpless corpse, bound hand and foot in its winding sheet, is just a figure of the death in which we live so long as we mistake it for life. Where the helpless corpse, bound hand and foot in its winding sheet, is just a figure of the death in which we live so long as we mistake it for life. Where do we go from here? We do not. We come to an end, but this is an end of the night. Oh, that was kind of cool. And then the lightness of touch. Chesterton once said that because they take themselves lightly, angels can fly. One sees so many faces dulled by a seriousness which, if it were born of grief, would be understandable. But the kind of seriousness which drags man down to earth and kills the life of the spirit is not the child of sorrow, but a sort of play acting in which the player is deceived into identifying himself with his part. There is a seriousness in the play of children, but even this is different, for the child is aware that it is only playing, and its seriousness is an indirect form of fun. But this seriousness becomes a vice in the adult because he makes a religion of the game, so identifying himself with his part or position in life that he fears to lose it. This is especially so when the unenlightened man attains to any degree of responsibility. He develops a heaviness of touch, a lack of abandon, a stiffness which indicates that he is using his dignity as stilts to keep his head above adversity. His trouble is that instead of playing his part plays him and makes him the laughingstock of all who see through his guise. The message of the Eastern wisdom is that the forms of life are Maya, and therefore profoundly lacking in seriousness from the viewpoint of reality. For the world of form and illusion, which the majority take to be the real world, is none other than the play of spirit, or as the Hindus have called it, the dance of Shiva. He is enlightened who joins in this play, knowing it as play, for man suffers only because he takes seriously what the gods made for fun. Thus, man only becomes man when he loses the gods' sense of levity. For the gods, or Buddhas, or what you will, are simply our own innermost essence, and this could shatter the universe to nothingness in a moment if it willed. But it does not, and it keeps the worlds moving for the divine purpose of play, because like a musician, it is a creator and delights in the fashioning of a rhythm and a melody. To play with it is therefore not a duty but a joy, and he who does not see it as a joy can neither do it nor understand it. That's good. To play with it is therefore not a duty, but a joy, and he who does not see it as a joy can neither do it nor understand it. And then, there was another page that I opened it to the other day, and not exactly sure actually what it was. But we'll just leave that for now. Yeah, I thought that was perfect. But yesterday, so I got a message yesterday. So I've been like just watching my thoughts and observing the obvious. And just watching the stories and my mental streams, and observing like different aspects in their voices and things and their messages. And it's funny, losing my train of thought already. It's kind of funny, one of those things. This is just like helping me to let go of what I think I'm supposed to say, or what I think I'm supposed to know, and embrace not knowing. Yeah. So I was thinking about thoughts, thinking about thinking, thinking about overthinking, overthinking. So it's just so funny. It's just a fun play, a funny ass play that gets to play. And we get to be played, and we get to play. So just play with the play. Just play in the play, and just play. Play at being. And be a playing being at play. So there was these thoughts coming up and stuff, and just like realizing that sometimes to sabotage ourselves, we like to scare ourselves, or like sometimes we want something so much we fear we're going to lose it, or like when we have it, or so it's just brought me back to like the three unwholesome roots of unease, or the three poisons, or on the wheel of samsara, that are represented by the snake, the pig, and the rooster. And just looking at those for the last little while. So I really did go into ignorance like a couple months ago, because that was like one of the things that I was really in aversion to. Like, just like, it hurts so much. The stupid hurts my face. Like, I just can't do it. I can't make friends with stupid. But it was just like learning to laugh about the stupid and the bullshit and the silliness of it all, because it's freaking absurd and it's fucking ridiculous, like a lot of it. And it's just like, okay, I can acknowledge this exists. And like, wow. And I just was asking myself some questions like, wow, why I just wow, like, what do I really want? Like, is it like, do I really want to be right here? Or is it like, do I want to have peace, or do I want to be at peace? Like, so I was kind of asking myself questions, looking into things, and just following, different things that came up in my stories, that came up in my dreams, and my writings, and what I could see on the outside of me, and like just, certain things that triggered me, or certain things that actually just like came up just for me to witness them. To just like the inner teacher showing up, or the universe saying, here, you asked to learn about this, so here's an example of it, or something, And so it's just kind of fun, just like, just going along in this process, and like, all right. And super interesting. So just realizing, letting go, and like focusing on the breath, and it's okay not to know, and just remembering different things, and just go with the flow, and respond, and just let go, and be here, and begin again. Breathe, begin again, as many times as I need to be right here. And so, like, just practice. So I was laying in bed, and I've been like resting a little bit more this week, because restoration, and I have felt like I had mentioned like emotional burnout and like spiritual fatigue, or spiritual burnout and emotional fatigue, they're related. And, yeah. So just kind of, it's been a long, bumpy ride, and but there has been like, all those highs and those lows, and making room for the space, making a room for that dual nature and for like duality to exist and work in harmony through relationship. And so, just looking into certain things. And I was just laying down the other day in my bed just because I needed to close my eyes for a few minutes. And then I woke up and my eyes got drawn over to my bookshelf, and I picked up this book that I hadn't picked up in a long, long time. And I used to use it daily, like back in 2016, for like daily divination and messages and whatnot. Like, just what does this have for me today, And so I just like, I picked it up. And one of the affirmations that have been coming up for me, because I've wanted to connect with the elementals and work with the elements and the nature spirits and things, and like just observing like my environment, because that's part of who I am. Like, we are our environment, and we are our economy, and we are our resources and all of that. And so as above, so below. So looking at certain things, and I was just like, how can I live more in harmony with nature and more in harmony with myself? Because that's my goal, is to embody peace and to be that peace, that dynamic peace. And that song, Om Shanti Om, that beautiful chant of dynamic peace, Om dynamic peace. I've been singing that daily, or it's just been running through my head in my own little sing-song voice. And sometimes like I'll listen and then I'll start singing, and it's just like continual, like it's a kind of like a background sort of like theme song of mine right now, like not consciously like running it through my head. It's just like something that's echoing back to me. I don't know how to explain it, but it just is. And so it's like a gift for me. So Om Shanti Om, Om Shanti Om. And it just feels really good. So thank you. Thank you, peace. So I flipped open this book yesterday, and I got some messages that relate. So this is like about thoughts. What is important in this moment is what you are choosing to think and believe and say right now. These thoughts and words will create your future. Your thoughts form the experiences of tomorrow, next week, next month, and next year. So we are creating different thought forms with the thoughts that we choose to think and the thoughts that we choose to entertain, or the thoughts that we agree to, or the beliefs that we agree to. And those like create more of the same. So this says it's only a thought, and a thought can be changed. So how many times have you refused to think a positive thought about yourself? Well, you can refuse to think negative thoughts about yourself too. People say, I can't stop thinking a thought. Yes, you can. You have to make up your mind that that is what you're going to do. You don't have to fight your thoughts when you want to change things. When that negative voice comes up, you can say, thank you for sharing. You are not giving your power over to the negative thought, and yet you are not denying that it is there. You are saying, okay, you're there, and thank you for sharing, and I'm choosing to do something else. I don't want to buy into that anymore. I want to create another way of thinking. Don't fight your thoughts, acknowledge them, and go beyond them. So I thought that was really cool. It's only a thought, and a thought can be changed, So it's just like observing the obvious, and that's an obvious thing to observe, is our own thoughts and our own feelings and the things that we're sensing and all of that. And so, that had come into my awareness, like, so I am not my thoughts. And just kind of looking at different books as well, like Vedantic Meditation by David Frawley. He's shared that the last couple times, and just kind of looking into that kind of stuff. And one of the questions in there for self-inquiry So like we've all asked the question, who am I? You know, and all that. And I do believe one of the questions was, who is aware instead of what am I aware of? Like I think that's one of the things that I had said in my last video, what am I aware of? But then going beyond that is like, who is the one that's aware? And it's just like, oh, haha, touche. Yeah, this is kind of funny. So, yeah. This is the first page that I flipped it open to when I picked up this book. I am in harmony with nature. And it says, find an image of something that you really love. Flowers, a rainbow, a special song, a sport that you love. Let that be the image that you use every time you start to scare yourself. So find an image of something that you really love. Flowers, a rainbow, a special song, a sport that you love. Let that be the image that you use every time you start to scare yourself. So I have been having these feelings, yeah, of fear come up because it's like fear of the unknown. And it is like, and it relates to self-doubt. Yeah, and just certain fears. Yeah, of rejection and things like that, or being seen. Yeah, and all those things. But maybe I'll share a little bit more about that later. So I'm in harmony with nature. This I know and affirm for myself. I love and approve of myself. All is well in my world. I inhale the precious yet abundant breath of life, and I allow my body, my mind, and my emotions to relax. There is no need for me to scare myself. I am in harmony with all of life. The sun, the moon, the winds, the rain, the earth, and the movement of the earth. The power that resettles the earth is my friend. I am at peace with the elements. Nature's elements are my friends. I am flexible and flowing. I am always safe and secure. I know no harm can befall me. I sleep and wake and move in complete safety. Not only am I safe, my friends, my family, and loved ones are also safe. I trust in the power that created me to protect me at all times and under all circumstances. We create our own reality, and I create a reality for myself of oneness and security. Where I am, there is always an island of safety. I am safe. It's only change. I love and approve of myself. I trust myself. All is well in my world. So I thought that was super great. And then I started to go backwards from where I was. And it was like, I am healthy. I'm filled with energy. I now want to affirm that my body is a friendly place to live. I have respect for my body and I treat it well. I connect with the energy of the universe and I allow it to flow through me. I have wonderful energy. I am radiant, vital, and alive. Feel that bounce in your step. See your shining eyes. The radiant you is right here. Claim it. The radiant you is right here. Claim it. So, yeah. Release the emotional attachment to beliefs from the past so that they don't hurt you now. If you live fully in the moment, you cannot be hurt by the past no matter what it was. I am always safe. When you hold your emotions down or hold things in, you create havoc within you. Love yourself enough to allow yourself to feel your emotions. Addictions like alcohol mask the emotions so that you don't feel. Allow your feelings to come to the surface. You may have to process quite a bit of old stuff. Start doing some affirmations for yourself so that you can do this easily, smoothly, and comfortably. Affirm that you are willing to feel your true emotions, and most importantly, keep telling yourself that you are safe. Everything I need comes to me in the perfect time and space sequence. Ask for help, tell life what you want, and allow it to happen. So, doing affirmations, making wish lists, creating treasure maps, doing visualizations, writing in a journal can be compared to going to a restaurant. The waiter takes your order and then goes into the kitchen to give it to the chef. You sit there and do whatever you do because you assume that the food is on its way. You don't ask the waiter every 2 seconds, is it ready yet? How are they making it? What are they doing in there? You place your order and know that your food will be served to you. It is much the same with what I call the cosmic kitchen. You place an order in the cosmic kitchen of the universe and know it is being taken care of. It will come to you in the perfect time and space sequence. Yep. I'm in the right place. Just as all the stars and planets are in their perfect orbit and in divine right order, so am I. The heavens are in perfect alignment, and so am I. I may not understand everything that is going on with my limited human mind, however, I know that on the cosmic level, I must be in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. Positive thoughts are just what I choose to think. This present experience is a stepping stone to new awareness and to greater glory. A rose is always beautiful, always perfect, and ever-changing. This is the way we are. We are always perfect wherever we are in life. I follow the path of right action. Wherever you go and whomever you meet, you will find your own love waiting for you. I follow the path of right action. In the infinity of life where I am, all is perfect, whole, and complete, knowing that I am one with Source and that I follow the path of right action, I am on principle at all times. I choose my thoughts to be in alignment with all that is for my highest good and greatest joy. My quality of life reflects the state that I presently want to be in. I love life. I love myself. I am safe at all times. All is well in my world. So, I release the past with ease and I trust the process of life. Anger is a defense mechanism. You are defensive because you are frightened. So I release the past with ease and I trust the process of life. Anger is a normal and natural process. Usually you get angry about the same things over and over again. When you are angry, you feel you don't have a right to express it, so you swallow it down. Swallowed anger tends to lodge in your favored part of the body and manifest itself through dis-ease. For years and years, you keep packing your anger into that same place. So in order to heal, let your true feelings out. If you cannot express them to the person directly involved, go to the mirror and talk to that person. Tell them everything. I'm pissed at you. I'm frightened. I'm upset. You hurt me. Just go on until the anger is released. Then take a deep breath, look in the mirror and ask, what is the pattern that created this? What can I do to make a change? If you can change the belief system inside that is creating this behavior, then you will not need to do it anymore. I am perfect exactly as I am. If we wait until we become perfect before we love ourselves, we will waste our lives. We are already perfect right here and right now. I am perfect exactly as I am. I am neither too much nor too little. I do not have to prove to anyone or anything who I am. I have to come to know that I am the perfect expression of the oneness of life. In the infinity of life, I have been many identities, each one a perfect expression for that particular lifetime. I am content to be who and what I am this time. I do not yearn to be like someone else, for that is not the expression I chose this time. Next time I will be different. I am perfect as I am right here and right now. I am sufficient. I am one with all life. There is no need to struggle to be better. All I need to do is to love myself more today than yesterday and to treat myself as someone who is deeply loved. As I am cherished by myself, I will blossom with a joy and beauty that I can barely begin to comprehend. Love is the nourishment that humans need to fulfill their greatness. As I learn to love myself more, I learn to love everyone more. Together, we lovingly nourish an ever more beautiful world. We are all healed and the planet is healed too. With joy, I recognize my perfection and the perfection of life, and so it is. And that is just so beautiful and perfect as well. I'm just going to share one more here. And life is very simple. Each one of us creates our experiences by our thinking and feeling patterns. What we believe about ourselves and about life becomes true for us. I create wonderful new beliefs for myself. These are some of the beliefs that I have created for myself over a period of time that really work for me. I am always safe. Everything I need to know is revealed to me. Everything I need comes to me in the perfect time, space, and sequence. Life is a joy and filled with love. I prosper wherever I turn. I am willing to change and to grow. All is well in my world. Yes. Notice what you are thinking at this moment. Do you want this thought to be creating your future? Is it negative or positive? Just notice and be aware. I experience the totality of possibilities within me. What does the totality of possibilities mean to you? Think of it as no limitations at all, going beyond all limitations that we may set up. Let your mind go beyond what you thought was possible. It can't be done, or it won't work, or there's not enough. This is in the way. Or how often have you used these limitations? Because I'm a woman, I can't do this. Because I'm a man, I can't do that. I don't have the right education. You hold on to limitations because they're important to you, but limitations stop you from expressing and experiencing the totality of possibilities. Every time you say, I can't, you are limiting yourself. Are you willing to go beyond what you believe today? Yes, I am willing to go beyond what I believe today. I'm willing to let go of my beliefs. I'm willing to allow my beliefs. I'm willing to change my beliefs. I'm willing to let go of my beliefs. I'm willing to allow my beliefs to exist. I am on an endless journey through eternity. Today is a very exciting time of your life. You are on a wonderful adventure and will never go through this particular process again. In the infinity of life, all is perfect, whole and complete. The cycle of life is also perfect, whole and complete. There is a time of beginning, a time of growth, a time of being, a time of withering or wearing out, and a time of leaving. These are all part of the perfection of life. We sense it as a normal and natural, and though saddened at times, we accept the cycle and its rhythms. Sometimes there is a sudden, abrupt ending in mid-cycle. We are jarred and feel threatened. Someone died too young, or someone was smashed and broken. Often thoughts that create pain remind us of our mortality. We too have an ending to our cycle. Shall we live out its fullness, or will we too have an early ending? Life is ever changing. There is no beginning and no end, only a constant cycling of recycling. Only a constant cycling and recycling of substance and experience. Life is never stuck or static or stale, for each moment is ever new and fresh. Every ending is a new point of beginning. I breathe in love and flow with life. All the answers to all the questions you are ever going to ask are right here within you. Every time you say, I don't know, you shut the door to your own wisdom. Well, that's kind of ironic and funny. So, I know that I don't know. Yeah, but I know. I breathe in love with life. I breathe in love and flow with life. Are you expanding or contracting? When you expand your thinking, your beliefs, and everything about yourself, the love flows freely. When you contract, you put up walls and shut yourself off. If you are frightened or threatened or feeling something is not right, begin to breathe. Breathing opens you up. It straightens your spine, it opens your chest, it gives your heart room to expand. By practicing breathing, you drop the barriers and begin to open up. It is a beginning point. Instead of going into total panic, take a few breaths and ask yourself, do I want to contract or do I want to expand? Or do I want to trust? Yeah. I didn't plan on going into all that. It just kept coming and feeling good. So just let it happen. And so a lot of those had to do with like the thoughts that we choose to think and being present and trusting that we are safe and trusting that all is well right here where we are in this moment. Yeah. I also had this nudge to pick up this book that I hadn't picked up for a little while, a couple weeks at least, maybe over a month. Dancing the Dream by Jamie Sands. The 7 paths of human transformation, the 7 sacred paths of human transformation. So I just flipped it open, and I flipped it open to the chapter on the 3rd path of initiation, and it was super interesting, like some of the same messages that were coming through in certain ways, and it was about like changing our attitudes, our thoughts, and our beliefs. So on the 3rd path of initiation. And so I'll just start where I have this little bookmark here. So did life have to hit me with a tidal wave because the dripping faucet didn't get my attention? So hard knocks come to many people in order to allow them to change their life paths dramatically and quickly. I have observed many people in positions of fame or wealth who could have used their positions for the benefit of others become so self-absorbed that they did not know how to share or give back. I have seen others who genuinely offered help and then did not follow through, breaking promises to people who trusted the offered assistance. Some of these people had reached the 3rd path of initiation, yet they ended up in dire straits when they could not become introspective and accountable for their behaviors. One publicly recognized person had a habit of going to meet many spiritual leaders of all different faiths, thinly veiling his insecure need to be acknowledged as an evolved soul. This man did good works from time to time and helped various organizations and individuals. On the 3rd path, when the authentic hard work of introspection was required, he adopted another behavior, avoidance. This confused man felt spiritually superior to others and sized up every person of goodwill who came into his life, mentally assessing whether or not the person was his spiritual equal. He used people to his advantage and then discarded them, never seeing how his abuse of authority was creating huge tangles in the dream weave. I was deeply saddened because I knew that the tangled web he unwittingly had woven in his arrogance would one day appear on his doorstep. No matter how important or successful a person becomes, no one can control the unseen worlds of spirit in the same way that they control employees, spouses, or children. We cannot manipulate the dream weave. The web of life that we experience is precisely woven by our internal attitudes, thoughts, feelings, and judgments. Trying to buy our way into a state of enlightenment is ludicrous and impossible. Good works will not change the web of life if we are behaving like tyrants when dealing with other human beings. If we hold secret judgments, the net of our entangled energy will reflect the internal wars raging between our shadow and our light, effectively strangling the best laid plans for success. We need abundant courage to see exactly what we are creating with every thought, attitude, or action. Any effort to cheat or slide by unnoticed has to die before authentic healing can occur. On the opposite side of self-importance, we encounter people who have suffered greatly in life and have no sense of self-esteem at all. They may be so deeply wounded that the third path continues the second path opportunity to find the courage necessary to reassemble their sense of well-being. Some, in the face of incessant human tragedy, choose to revile the sacredness of life and do not care if they destroy themselves or others. For these people, the first and second paths have involved learning to see hope and for the future. Learning to see hope for the future for the first time in their lives. By the time they reach the third path, their task is to reinforce the self through treating themselves and others with profound respect. These people usually appreciate what others take for granted, since the smallest of blessings was once denied them. Prior to the original wake-up call that brought them into the paths of initiation, their lives might have been what most people would consider living nightmares. If all that we have experienced in life is suffering, poverty, humiliation, and pain, we often continue the abuse by adopting it as our personal behavior. In such instances, seriously wounded human beings find that by reaching out to others from similar backgrounds who have changed themselves, they are given a new foundation on which to rebuild their lives. This sense of extended family gives people a form of support and can change them forever by showing them that they are valuable and worth loving. The path of reclaiming self-worth is a hard one and requires perseverance, but the person who finds the courage to walk this path is powerful indeed. Healing from the depths of despair, including memories of violence and abuse, can infuse a calm strength in those who have walked through the storm. When others would panic in the face of danger or disaster, a person who has already experienced far worse can garner the strength necessary to rise to any occasion. Often it is painful to watch people go through their growth processes. When someone we love is learning through hard knocks or heartache, we may hurt too. If she or he is racing at speeds up to Mach 10 with her hair on fire, heading for a brick wall, how are we supposed to respond? We can issue a warning, speaking up as long as we are prepared for the possibility that our message may fall on deaf ears. We can remain silent and observe. We can retreat, allowing that person to learn his or her own way, choosing to observe from afar. If we do not approve of the person's behavior and we feel it is destructive, we can step out of his or her arena of influence. If the person is an addict, we can intercede with other family members in order to get him or her into recovery. All decisions about how to respond are individual, but in all cases we are asked to hold no judgments, praying for this person's highest good, turning the situation over to the great mystery. Letting go of how others should heal is a third path lesson. Letting go of how others should heal is a third path lesson. And that was a great lesson that I got to learn this last year. Yes, indeed. Although there was a part of me that knew, it's for our soul's progression. It's for our soul's growth and expansion and all of that. And it's what we're here to play out in certain ways. But there was a part of me still that was secretly judging certain people in my life, or random people of oh, they're doing it wrong. Kind of a thing where it was my own projections. So I didn't want people to think that I was doing it wrong, and I didn't want to be seen as wrong. I didn't want to be wrong. So, yeah. And so it was okay, and it was one of my wishes, to go beyond the right and the wrong. For me just get over that, get through that, get over ourselves, that there's a right way, only one right way, or there's certain right ways, and then there's the way you're doing it's wrong, or whatever, all those silly stories and all those silly songs. Bullshit songs and stories to go along to get along. And so in the tradition of the Southern Seers, this transformational process of healing our internally held imbalances is called shaman's death and rebirth. So looking at the death, life, rebirth cycles. And that's fun. So the death of false ideals, the death of false ideas. the end of destructive illusions, and the termination of relationships with people who support inappropriate or unhealthy behaviors will all appear in this cycle of initiation. The death cycle can also include dark nights of the soul, which force us eventually to look at the growth opportunities we are being given by undergoing the death and rebirth cycle. If we deny this third path transformational process, refusing to see it as a way to develop endurance or elk medicine, events in life will continue to challenge us until we become willing to pick up the gauntlet and surrender to the healing process with grace. The ensuing dark nights of the soul become more intense if we continue to deny the warning signals that life presents to us. Health can suffer at this stage of initiation. The stomach, liver, spleen, and intestines are the weakest because they reside in the same area as the dreaming body, which contains our life force and the connections we have to the unseen worlds of thought and feeling. So, yeah, I can relate to that. I've had some stomach and liver and intestinal issues for the last 2 or 3 years. Yeah. So, we sense our world through the dreaming body. Yes. And the dreaming body is shaped like a luminous egg residing within the torso of the human form. The bottom of this egg rests on the pubis, and the top is just below the heart. From the center of the egg, approximately 3 inches above the navel, hundreds of tiny golden threads of energy, which are our human sensory antenna, spread into the universe in every direction. These are the energetic threads connecting us to our intuition and allowing us to understand and feel the world around us. These same threads extend into other unseen worlds. Through them, a person who has healed enough of his or her own life can perceive reality beyond the usual frames of reference. The dreaming body is our connection to the dreamweave's world of feelings, intuition, inspiration, and ideas. All perceptions of the seen and unseen worlds begin with the golden threads of the dreaming body and end up as sensations or impressions. Whether we are sleeping or awake, this luminous egg of the dreaming body collects life force and feeds us the energy needed to fund our creativity. We can enjoy full use of the dreaming body only if we have freed ourselves from old patterns of limitation. When we allow those limiting habits, ideas, or attitudes to die, we are reborn into new levels of understanding and clarity. We then are able to use the universal energy coming from the great mystery to feed our physical bodies and our growing range of perceptions. As we heal, the tiny golden threads unfurl into larger and larger areas of experience, allowing us to continue to free ourselves from the tangled threads created by hurt, trauma, or abuse. By becoming introspective and embracing the death and rebirth process, we become more able to operate effectively in life and to use correctly the energy being given to us. As we reclaim and heal the wounded fragments of ourselves, we rediscover self-esteem. Then our personal authority and effectiveness in life expand dramatically. How many threads of perception are activated in new states of awareness varies from person to person based upon how much that person has healed. When a person has been traumatized or wounded, the threads that reached out to others recoil into the luminous egg of the dreaming body. Whether they remain tangled and knotted or open again to awareness depends on whether the person has healed wounded feelings, embraced forgiveness, brought the wounding situation to closure, and become willing to open again to his or her sensitivity. If the person remains shut down and does not allow healing and forgiveness to release the areas of blockage within the dreaming body, the old unhealed wounds can be seen as gaping holes by those who perceive energy. I had the first experience of reopening the perceptions of my dreaming body when I came to an authentic place of forgiveness about having been violently raped when I was 9 years old. As I healed, the golden threads of my dreaming body began to unfurl. I began to see tiny comet-like or sperm-shaped lights in the open air every time I was in bright daylight. I had seen colors around people all my life, but this visual phenomena altered as my awareness changed. I also began to see lines of energy, which I perceived as red and magenta, appearing between my body and an object I was viewing. The grid looked like a schematic of the inside of a radio or a television, with bright lines of energy delineating the maze-like overlay like a color transparency between me and the world. This was a signal to me that past wounds were healed and I could reclaim the magic of life. Expansion versus abandonment. When we fear experiences foreign to our upbringing or avoid situations that our peers consider unacceptable, we are actually afraid of being alienated. When we see only one tiny aspect of life as acceptable, that limited avenue of experience becomes the only safe path we can endure comfortably. We can expand that comfort zone if we are willing to adventure beyond the limited perceptions of needing to fit in or to be accepted. If the only validation we have received in life has come through being one of the crowd, it will be hard to leave this comfort zone. Some of us base our behavior on a fear of punishment, others on the need for love love, or approval. If we have suffered heartache, we might resist change because we fear being alienated or criticized, abandoned, or ignored. Confronting our fear of abandonment is one of the most difficult challenges on the third path of initiation. On this healing path, we may need to let go of the places we have lived if we are to find a new identity. It is difficult to move beyond a certain lifestyle if everyone we have known all of our lives has fixed ideas about how we are supposed to act, how we are supposed to look or feel, and how we are supposed to live. If we begin to change and we notice that people in our lives are becoming distant, we are being given an opportunity to make choices. We can choose not to abandon our healing process and our growth potential, or we can succumb to peer pressure and deny our need for change by stuffing our feelings. Yeah. So if we begin to change and we notice the people in our lives are becoming distant, we are being given an opportunity to make choices. We can choose not to abandon our healing process and our growth potential, or we can succumb to peer pressure and deny our need for change by stuffing our feelings. If we do not feel strong enough to leave and to implicitly trust ourselves, we can continue working on getting stronger, or we can stay in denial and numb our senses through refusing to feel the internal discomfort and self-blame. If we choose not to abandon the self, we have effectively woven new patterns into our life experiences that will support us in forward movement and healing. But the moment we abandon our inner knowing that we need to change, we have woven threads into the dream weave that will present us with the lessons we need to learn about abandonment issues. These lessons may take many forms. So those abandonment scenarios are wake-up calls. We may be asked to look at ourselves, discovering the event or thought where we have abandoned our personal integrity, our feelings, our sense of self-esteem, or our personal creeds. By abandoning ourselves, we have woven threads into the dream weave that have put us out of balance with our intuition, our sense of well-being, and our inner knowing. If we ignore the small, still voice within us whispering that something is amiss, it becomes easier to slip into illusions or denial, blaming others for our pain or loneliness. If, however, we acknowledge where and when we abandon ourselves, we may agree that we no longer choose the company of people who are leaving our lives. Sometimes life just happens when we are making other plans, giving us an option we may not have seen. The alternate path that appears unexpectedly can urge us to grow beyond our former lifestyles and identities, aligning with new people who allow us to be ourselves. Every time we suddenly find new options or alternatives when our path had seemed impassable, we have broken through some former illusion. Sometimes the illusion is lifted by divine intervention, while at other times we actively let go, or something that was a blurry mess comes into focus. Those times can be marked by the unusual appearance of some animal in nature, visions that result from a ceremony, spirit signals found in the natural world, dream encounters, visitations from spirit guides or angels, or a sudden feeling of the burden being lifted for no apparent reason. Sometimes reading or seeing something turns on the light in our heads and brings us the big aha as the puzzle pieces fall into place. Home is where your heart lives without fear. A few years ago, I endured several confrontational pop quizzes where wounded people riddled with human hatred and ignorance attacked me. I was publicly rebuked by strangers who happened to be Native American for being a mixed breed, and I was attacked by bigoted white people when I wore my Indian regalia for ceremonies in public places. I emotionally collapsed after one book signing where a born-again Christian who believed that Native American teachings were of the devil tried to stab me in the back with a hunting knife. I felt unprotected, and the wounds of dealing with ignorance and prejudice brought up the feelings that I did not belong anywhere and that it was not safe to be a loving individual who honored every spiritual tradition. I was reminded of similar incidents that happened to me 7 years before, and the dream had helped me heal at the time. So she goes into this dream in the book where she had a vision dream from her grandfather and of a place where she grew up on the reservation in this little creek, and to go find her protection stone. And so she followed this dream's advice and her own intuition and went back to where she grew up, and went back to the little place, the stream, where what she was shown in her dream by her grandfather. And she looked and she searched, and she was about to give up, and she says, "I'm sorry, I can't find the stone, but thank you." And then as soon as she gave up, she heard a little voice that said, "Here I am, here I am." And it was a little stone that was, it's saying, "I'm right here, I'm right here." So she started to dig where she was hearing the voice come from. And she dug through the mud underneath, and then she pulled it up, and then she realized, that was her stone. And she began to examine it and look at all of the little markings and stuff. And it was, just very special. Like all of the different markings, it had like fossilized, but there was like personal messages there for her, like animal companion totems and like, little symbols there that actually corresponded with her life path and everything. And so I thought that was pretty cool little story. And about her finding her personal protection stone. And her grandfather's voice says, this is who you are. You belong to the earth. Like this stone, your blood is a mixture of different parts of humanity, because your life is to be used as a bridge between people that will show unity between races. You never need to be ashamed of not belonging, because you belong to the earth. In that moment, a healing began, and it continued to reveal itself a bit at a time for many years. The Mayans used the onion to represent the layers upon layers that are peeled away to reveal the spiritual essence of the healed human being. It is natural for humans to grow and change, to move in different directions from the patterns developed in childhood, but it is the courageous human who is willing to embrace the work required to strip away the layers of the onion needed to reach authentic freedom. We reach this kind of freedom when we see every adversity or challenge in life as a way of tempering the warrior nature into bright, strong courage, inner knowing, and truth. We learn that the layers of the onion are peeled away when we embrace life with all its many joys and sorrows, understanding that all experiences are valid initiations that give us the power of choice. That ability to discern allows us to choose how to relate to the events in our lives and to move through the doors that those experiences have opened for us. Our shadow natures would like to portray doom and gloom in every instance of suffering or in all painful encounters, telling us that we are not strong enough to survive or to continue. This internal shadow talk is the mind's ability to thwart our forward movement. Every fleeting thought that is self-defeating or contains self-hatred dampens the human spirit's ability to overcome the barriers at hand. Succumbing to the influences of the shadow can infuse us with hopelessness, helplessness, and despair. By noticing the shadow thoughts when they occur and by consciously changing them, we alter their content and effectively eliminate the shadow's control. Eventually on this path, we let go of our fear of dark forces or evil and come to a place of understanding where the dark and the light are seen not as separate forces, but as part of the same universe. This perception offers us ways to learn through observing and experiencing opposites. Just as we would never know what heat was unless we experienced the cold, so also dark or evil motivates our search for light, wholeness, and inner peace. The shadow side of human nature gives us an alternative. Grandmother Twyla said there have always been the people and those people. So we should be grateful for those people, because without them, the people would have become lazy and never stayed on the path. Spiritual warriors acknowledge inappropriate negativity as a challenge. We can see what we do not want to emulate, and we choose the path that is more beneficial and aligned with our goals. For instance, on a day when we are feeling vulnerable, we might think, I cannot achieve, I am not worthy of succeeding in this area of my life. We are given the choice of believing that negative idea presented by the shadow or reweaving that idea's thread in the dream weave by disagreeing. So, we can agree. We're given that choice of believing that negative idea presented by the shadow or reweaving that idea's thread in the dream weave by disagreeing. If we choose to believe the negative, we have given our authority away and shunned our free will. If we choose to disagree, we can replace the thought with a more positive one, and we can call our energy back from investment in self-negation. One way to reclaim our energy and our authority is through making this simple statement. All parts of the great mystery's creation are made in wholeness. I honor the wholeness in me as I revere the perfection placed in all living things. All parts of the great mystery's creation are made in wholeness. I honor the wholeness in me as I revere the perfection placed in all living things. What we resist will persist. One big enlightenment trap on the third path is denying any inappropriate behaviors we may be demonstrating. Every human being has a shadow side that must be acknowledged. If we insist that we have no shadow behaviors, we are denying that we are ever impatient, jealous, angry, fearful, envious, dishonest, bossy, judgmental, controlling, manipulative, or critical. All human beings are responsible for their light as well as their shadow, and without recognizing both parts of ourselves, we cannot heal. When we can authentically see where we use our shadow to define our light, we can embrace the shadow to achieve wholeness. We then can purify our behavioral imbalances and attain new levels of understanding and longer periods of balanced harmony. The goal of life's initiations is not to master rigid rules of perfection. The goal is to become impeccably aware of all our thoughts, feelings, and actions so that we can achieve harmony and oneness with everything we experience in life. The goal of life's initiations is not to master rigid rules of perfection. The goal is to become impeccably aware of all our thoughts, feelings, and actions so that we can achieve harmony and oneness with everything we experience in life. Embracing all the feelings and thoughts means embracing the good and the bad, the light as well as the shadow. In this integration process, we discover the value of our free will and the power of personal choice. We can choose to give our authority to the negative or to the positive. Every time we choose to change our sacred point of view, adopting the role of the unbiased observer, we release judgments that could hinder our ability to heal. So, yeah, I read on, like, pretty much the end of the chapter, and, yeah, this isn't the first time I've read this chapter. It's actually, one that keeps popping up for me, so, in the last year or so, this third path, and so I definitely, see the value, and the synchronicity, like, of how these things relate for me and we. So, the value of observing the obvious. On the third path, we learned that the value of looking for something to admire in ourselves or in another person strengthens our boundaries in the dream weave and deters negativity from entering our thoughts or feelings. This prevents those negative threads from entering our physical lives by being spoken as words. My teachers called these kinds of boundaries spiritual or dream weave boundaries. By protecting the parts of our sacred spaces that are seemingly unseen but that contain thought, feeling, energy, and dreams, we are using a spiritual form of preventative medicine. We are required to use vigilance in monitoring all that we allow inside our sacred spaces. We are asked to feel every emotion that influences our human experience and to move those feelings through us and release them as neutral energy. In this manner, we are beginning a fourth path lesson, which allows us to experience all of life with ease. Gratitude and communion with the Creator continue to be integral parts of our third path as we allow Spirit to assist us in purifying our thoughts, emotions, behaviors, and attitudes. We are asked to return thanks for every blessing in life and to honor the steps of our personal healing and the healing taking place in the lives of others. We learn to pray for the well-being of all human beings no matter how they are living their lives. We send love to those who have hurt us and we draw our strength from that same love. We gather together with others who will pray with us and we share our healing experiences. We ask for guidance and the strength necessary to stand tall in a loving manner, even in the face of our greatest fears. We learn to become the one who watches, observing all that comes into our experience from the viewpoint of an unbiased witness. By observing inappropriate behavior without entering an arena of conflict, we are able to sidestep negative encounters. When we look at any situation and are grateful for the teaching being presented, we have prevented ourselves from being labeled or targeted as the enemy. If we engage in conflict by pointing out the bad behavior of another person, we have chosen to enter a metaphorical boxing arena, which can set us up for attacks of all kinds. On the other hand, we can do what a friend of mine once suggested. She told me that she simply and silently thanks the person by saying, "Thank you for letting me know you better." And then there's one more thing. Laughter shields us against harmful intent. In today's world, the most powerful form of spiritual attack is envy and jealousy. Some people believe that black magic, bad spells, curses, sorcery, and witching are the most harmful spiritual attacks on others, but all those rituals are propelled by jealousy or envy, the need for revenge or retaliation. I have felt and seen how ugly, unstaunched, hate-filled emotions can harm the energy fields of others. This battering in the unseen worlds of the dream weave can weaken a person's spiritual boundaries and eventually make that person ill or accident-prone, particularly if the person targeted is also leaking his or her energy on fear, hate, bitterness, or envy. The revenge-oriented rituals that the inept dabbler practices are a misuse of Raven's medicine of magic. Dabblers who use spells and curses directing harm toward other human beings will have their bad intentions boomerang, creating more harm in their lives. No harmful intent can flourish in the face of laughter. Laughter is the lubricant that keeps negativity from sticking. We break the stranglehold of any malicious intent when we do not fear it, but rather engage in laughter, joy, and love. The more skillful we become disengaging from negativity, the stronger we become spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and physically. Fear of the shadow will allow negative energy to gain the upper hand in our daily life as well as in the energetic realms where our nightmares reflect our subconscious fears or the negative feelings we are entertaining. If we can embrace the fact that all life contains shadow and light, the fear of what we think evil can do to us dwindles until it no longer affects us through our own judgments. At various points in the third path, we are given opportunities to see how far we have come in developing our personal sense of well-being and in using our personal authority effectively in the world. This discovery occurs each time we are tested on how we will use the authority we have gained, the expertise we employ, and the influence we have available. We get a real close-up look at our weaknesses in the process, as if Coyote placed all of our personal garbage and ragtag issues under an electron microscope. I know firsthand what a humbling experience that can be. Looking at our own shit magnified at close range changes our mind's perspective of the self-important forever. Coyote laughingly told me that this equalizing event was the first psychedelic experience every person's ego went through during the initiations of the ancient mystery schools. If we make choices that include lording our skills over others or trying to exercise control over situations and people, we will immediately encounter this type of pop quiz. If we feel that we are strong in one area and we misuse those abilities, the results can affect other areas of our lives where we are not so strong. For example, if we have finally been promoted into a management position but we have not matured emotionally, we may make unreasonable demands on others to test out our power. This unfortunate choice of action can start a chain of events that becomes more than humbling when we are called on the carpet by the boss. Or we may not know how to drop that same petty tyrant behavior when we leave work, alienating family members or friends. The pop quiz can occur when no one wants to share our company any longer. Learning how to handle the authority we have earned or the success we have attained is a third path lesson. Handling fame or acclaim of some sort includes learning how we can be seduced into becoming a petty tyrant, an arrogant snob, or a know-it-all. All of these ego-oriented behaviors are a third path enlightenment traps. They seduce us into believing that we must adopt behaviors that we assume to be those of a person in a position of authority, public acclaim, or wealth. Nothing could be further from the truth. The authentic, healed human being who has embraced his or her own personal authority and wears his or her own power lightly demonstrates humility and compassion in a respectful manner. When we release our need to be recognized, the gears of our belief system are stripped and authentic being replaces mental attitudes. So I thought that was cool. When we release our need to be recognized, the gears of our belief systems are stripped and authentic being replaces mental attitudes. So human beings have 5 elements that stifle the spirit's ability to soar: unwavering seriousness, self-importance, lack of imagination, the mind's negative chatter, and fear. Bird of a broken bow. That was from the beginning of chapter 6, and that starts the 4th path initiation, the north direction on medicine wheel. But what I read from this time was the 3rd path initiation, the west direction on the medicine wheel. Jamie's hands dancing the dream. So I love that. It's amazing, like for me to receive yesterday, and it did go along with some of the things that I've been working with and focusing on, playing through. And there's so many awesome things. So today, I was just kind of looking at that, and this week, I looked into ignorance, and I looked into greed or pride. Very, very, very deeply the last month into pride, because that was huge for me, just to look and see where I was using that to protect myself in certain ways, and I wasn't even aware of it. I was aware, semi-aware of certain ways that it would come up, but I was clueless about it in other ways. So it was really good for me to see that that's where my need to prove myself worthy, to prove myself right, to prove myself enough, to prove myself good, to prove myself worthy of love, all those things, that was a form of pride or greed. And so that was really interesting to see, and I'm willing to see more about that as well. But I feel like I did some good work around that last month, these last few weeks. And so now, what I get to tend to is something, because I was like, oh man, because some of these things that come up and they trigger me, and it's just I don't really think it's about hate, but it's about like aversion to it because it's unpleasant and it's uncomfortable and it's not my preference. And so I was just like, okay, so I'll look in, now I get to look into like the hatred or the aversion that's represented by the snake in the Wheel of Samsara. So that's what I was looking into today a little bit, and I just like did a little bit of reviewing, and I remembered as well that loving kindness, metta, friendship with life, is the remedy or the antidote for hatred or aversion, self-loathing. And so I just wrote a couple of things down today about metta. So it's looking into aversion and the three unwholesome roots of unease or unskillful action, toxic mindsets, self-loathing, aversion, and hatred, polarized opposition, the one against. So I made my peace with ignorance and pride as much as I can. Acceptance that ignorance and pride and suffering exists, the Four Noble Truths. I am that I am. So it's the Sanskrit, Divisha. I'm not exactly sure how that's pronounced, but it's D-V-E-S-H-A, and it's also spelled D-V-E-S-A. It's dosa in Pali, so it can mean anger, aversion, and hatred. Hate arises from ignorance because we don't see the interconnectedness of all things and all beings, and instead experience ourselves as standing apart. So it's represented by the snake, in the wheel of life, in the wheel of samsara. Because we see ourselves separate from everything else, we judge things to be desirable, and we want to grasp them, or we feel aversion and we want to avoid them, or condemn, judge. So we are also likely to be angry with anyone who gets between us and something that we want. We hate things that frighten us or seem to pose a threat to us. The antidote to this aversion and hatred is loving kindness, and that's from learnreligions.com on the 3 Poisons by Barbara O'Brien. And so the Pali word metta is a multi-significant term meaning loving kindness, friendliness, goodwill, benevolence, fellowship, amity, concord, inoffensiveness, and nonviolence. True metta is devoid of self-interest. It evokes within a warm-hearted feeling of fellowship, sympathy, and love, which grows boundless with practice, and overcomes all social, religious, racial, political, and economic barriers. Metta is indeed a universal, unselfish, and all-embracing love, and that is from an article on the Buddhist practice of metta, or loving kindness, on thoughtco.com by Barbara O'Brien. Metta often is paired with karuna, compassion. Metta is the directing of one's attention or concern, our care, to the happiness of others. Karuna is a wish for all beings to be free from suffering. Or, like they said in this article, she said in this article, it's not, maybe wish isn't really the appropriate word for it. It's more of a directing of one's attention towards either like the happiness of others or the suffering of others. And then I really appreciate this. So being nice often is about self-preservation and maintaining a sense of belonging in a group. We are nice because we want people to like us or at least not get angry with us. There's nothing wrong with being nice most of the time, but it's not the same thing as loving kindness. Metta is concerned with the genuine happiness of others, and sometimes when people are behaving badly, the last thing they need for their own happiness is someone politely enabling their destructive behavior. Sometimes people need to be told things they don't want to hear, and sometimes they need to be shown that what they are doing is not okay. As long as your practice is about you being a nice person, you are just play acting. So this may seem paradoxical, but unselfishness begins by gaining insight into yourself and understanding the source of your ill will, irritations, and insensitivity. This takes us to the basics of the Buddhist practice, beginning with the Four Noble Truths and the practice of the Eightfold Path. Scholars say that the Metta Sutra, or the Sutra, presents 3 ways to practice metta. The first is applying metta to day-to-day conduct. The second is meditation. The third is a commitment to embody metta with full body and mind. The third practice grows from the first 2. A common practice is to begin by offering metta to oneself. Then over a period of time, Metta is offered to someone in trouble, then to a loved one, and so on, progressing to someone you don't know very well, and to someone you dislike, and eventually to all beings. Why begin with yourself? Sharon Salzberg said, to reteach a thing its loveliness is the nature of Metta. To reteach a thing its loveliness is the nature of Metta. Through loving kindness, everyone and everything can flower again from within. Because so many of us struggle with doubts and self-loathing, we must not leave ourselves out. Flower from within for yourself and for everyone. And that's by Barbara O'Brien on thoughtco.com about the Buddhist practice of Metta. So I super appreciated that. Loving kindness and friendship with life, and being a friend to ourselves. So that's what it's been about lately. So I had a couple of things come up lately that just keep helping me continue and persevere. So loyalty, devotion, trust, faith. Loyalty, devotion, trust, and faith. And so those are just the things that are coming up for me right now. And I'm sure there's much more to share about what was going on this week with me, but I feel complete right now, and I feel like that was perfect love for now. So thanks for listening, and I hope you're doing well. And we have some amazing opportunities right now to change and transform and just expand into who we are and into who we are. become what you are. Like this little book with a mirror on it. And it's just kind of funny that all these gifts just come up, and it is about the perfect order, sequence, and time. Space and time. Just making the space for it. I liked that little reminder about just placing an order in the cosmic kitchen. You don't go hover around like the cook over their shoulder or is it ready yet? Are they making it right? It's just okay, this is what I ordered, and I trust the universe, and I'll respond as well, to the opportunities that are presented, and to the gifts that are right here, and all of this abundance and this prosperity, and all gifts always being given. And so honoring all of that, and acknowledging that, recognizing that. And so, there's a lot for me to contemplate about all of these things, and I super appreciate all this learning and all this continuity, and all this love that I get to choose for me and me, and all this love that I get to be, and we get to be together, individually and collectively. So how cool is that? Doubly double. So, the dual nature and the whole. So I love y'all. Be well and take good care of yourselves. And enjoy the freaking amazing solar eclipse tomorrow and this new moon energy of new beginnings and infinite possibilities and becoming who we are, remembering who we are, being all we are, loving all we are, knowing all we are, and freeing all we are, being love for all we are. Alright, be love for yourselves, be love. Talk to you again soon. Bye now.